Continuing on, setting up the dog training field. As I've been sharing with you, concept of flow, it's used, I use it in many, many ways. The concept was initially, I'd say initially, it's probably thousands of years old. I'm sure it is, 5,000 years old. But it's recorded initially being brought about by Nietzsche's pioneering work on peak performance. And he came about to understand that 4 things are needed for peak performance. And that's kind of what we're looking for initially with dog training is peak performance. You need passion. You can't start right into the training. Oh, I think I'm going to train. Oh, yeah, this just doesn't. If you don't feel it, it's not going to happen. It's going to be counterproductive. So then the grit. You guys have to have grit to be able to continually work through this. It's work. It's coupled with passion, love, but then struggle and work. You know, there's that breathing cycle that I was just talking about. There's learning and creativity. Learning is always occurring, but at the very beginning, when we're in step 1, step 2, passion and grit, we have to struggle a little more than we will at the end game because we're still learning the strategy, the steps, the techniques, the this, the that. Your frontal brain, your thinking brain is fully engaged. It's a little stressful, a little more than you really wanted up front or in difficult moments. It's eustress, healthy stress for you and the dog when you're going through your difficult moments. So you're learning that learning itself is a little stressful because you're in your thinking brain and you have to work at it. But you're also experiencing the fact that you can let go. You can, at this moment, you're getting into the advanced techniques because you've got so many parts of these steps, so many parts of the strategy in your brain that you can just let go of the thinking, let go to what you know, and let go of the thinking and just feel it happen. And it happens. That's when creativity comes in because you're starting to step into the flow of letting go of your control. For some of us control freaks, it's a little difficult at first, but you let go of it, let go to what you already know. You're not being haphazard and just letting go because you know you have the skills. So now you can let go. And now the flow allows you to be creative to troubleshoot in the moment. You're in your micro flow. You've got a little problem going on because, like Linda, you've just discovered you got to figure out, is this dog going to be create reactivity in Breezy? Is she going to love up and bring out Breezy's playfulness? But you have the skills you need so you can let go to what you know and allow the creativity to come into place. If you see you've got the focus on Breezy, if you see in the peripheral vision the dog doing something, startling or tensing up or whatever, then you will know you can be creative enough to just step right in the middle of the two, whatever it takes in that instant. And then you can go right back to your flow. So that's what Nietzsche's work is about in the peak performance, discovering flow. Later, this gentleman, Mihai, took it further. He picked up the torch and he learned that there's 6 characteristics for flow to occur. That state of peak performance, peak learning, peak performance. And that is complete concentration. We can't be on the cell phone when we're walking our dog, and we know that this is a training moment and we need to fully engage with the dog. We need complete concentration in the present moment. We can't worry about, is it going to react in the next block? But we will be perceptive, peripheral vision, We will have the senses about us to know what's happening around us. We must know what's happening around us, but be completely immersed in the present moment as the observer, just observing and acting out of awareness. We're not going to be stuck in yesterday he attacked this dog, so oh my gosh, what's going to happen in this? This is the present moment that we're becoming much more masterful at reading their body language, our dog's body language, and being aware of the energetic sense and the visual stimulation around us. And the third one, the sense of self vanishes. When you're fully engaged in the flow, when you're fully engaged in your dog's training session, dog engagement session, dog play session, whatever, a sense of self vanishes. It's you as the observer, literally, just being a part of it, acting a part of it, as though you're just being in the moment, because you really are just being in the moment. We're learning to stop doing, controlling from our thinking brain, and being. And that's where the same thing is step 4, an altered sense of time. Time starts drifting away. Our sense of self starts drifting away, and we're just being in the present moment with our dog. And then at that moment, the paradoxical sense of control occurs. The dog must perceive they're in control for optimal flow to exist. Yes. Linda, did you have a question?
No, I was shooing my husband away.
Well, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Paradoxical sense of control disappears. What does that mean? You just said that.
I was just going to start getting into that paradoxical sense of control, because the dog can never be in control. We're the leaders. It's our responsibility to control, unquote, control. So sense of control, paradoxical, meaning, remember at the beginning, we stated that if the other 2 dogs are with you, Shane and Carrie, then the dog, Shane's mood state has risen, playful state, the trusting state, the more trusting state, I should say. So in that moment, he's in a sense of paradoxical control, because you know the plan, you've got the strategy. All the work that you did up front that we're doing right now is the strategy. This is the struggle part, figuring out the strategy. When we're in the moment, we'll let go of this stuff, this thinking brain, and just let it happen. Now, the paradoxical sense of control for you and the dog, paradoxically for you, but because you're letting go to what you know, but it's paradoxical because you're still in control. Your brain has all this information into it. And the more we let go of controlling, I got to do this, and next, right? We're in the moment. We let go to what we know, and that's a paradoxical sense of control right there. And the dog's paradoxical sense of control is, I feel good. I own this moment. I own what's happening. A sense of ownership is what the dog really must have in order to continually raise his mood states.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the autotelic drive, having the dogs, those 2 dogs next to Shane, is tapping into his autotelic drive. Everything's instinctual. He's back into the pack mentality. And we've got his mood state up. He's in a playful state, which is where we must keep him in order to be in control, really. If he starts becoming fearful and reactive, now the interesting thing is no one has control. Not the dog, not you. That's where we have to step in for the emergency pressure release. And that's how we have to come into the thinking brain with the creative brain to take control, but nobody's really in control because the flow has stopped, right? In that moment. And that was the next step. When we're in the maximum flow, I'm gonna skip over to it. I'll come back to this other stuff. When we're in the maximal flow, we come to a fork. That fork is going to be continue deeper into the flow or cross over into maximum chaos.
Hmm.
We have to be aware of the present moment. When they're in the maximum flow, just being aware that any instant it could be a veer off into chaos.
Hmm.
Why is that? Because they've gone just a little over the edge of their emotional regulation. That happens, they're over here into the not so, it's chaos, reactivity, fearful. Or they maintain that emotional regulatory state, that coherence, everything's flowing, and they go even deeper into that state. So point being, we must always be aware, in the flow state, it could fork off into chaos because the dog has stepped over his emotional regulatory state, his state of emotional regulation.
What would make him step over? Do you mean that he's getting overly excited,
Yep.
or do you mean
Yep.
yeah, that's what you mean. He's getting
Yep.
overly excited.
So we've got two states of dysregulation. One is fearful reactivity on this end of the spectrum. On this end of the spectrum, we have hyperexcitement,
Oh.
right? So both of them go into complete chaos. That's why a lot of people don't understand that when my dog's really happy and excited to see me, it's a good thing no matter what. It's not. Because if they flip over into emotional dysregulation, that becomes an extremely painful place for the dog to be.
Hmm.
Because he's emotionally dysregulated, he has no control over himself. Remember, a dog, us too, but a dog needs to perceive control. They're really excited and they're emotionally dysregulated. They know they have no control. Then they start doing silly stuff like nipping
Hmm.
or, just reacting the same as a fearful reactive dog would. Okay.
Hmm.
Yes, Linda.
I had a question because it's just thinking in my head. I would feel better, and my daughter does too, if we put a muzzle on Breezy when we're walking around.
Good.
And I would feel better, like if she's sniffing a dog or something, because I would have. And you think that's okay?
Oh,
It doesn't really
absolutely.
bother her, so
That's what counts. If it did bother her, we would condition it to her to it first, and then, but absolutely,
okay.
whatever you need to assure a sense of control, do it. And you've got a nice little Baskerville muzzle, absolutely.
Okay,
Then
thank
you
you.
will trust her more, and you will
Yeah.
let her go further into the depths of uncertainty, right? I love that. Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
All righty. Questions, comments, concerns so far?
So the flow too, like I think it relates to the meditation too. Like I've been doing the meditation with her and she'll lay down. I mean, she's not totally out or anything. I think you probably get her into a bigger state, but
They tip over.
yeah, she's just laying down and she's just being with me. We're just in tune to each other, just quietly. She'll get
Nice.
up once in a while and then come down. But I mean, that's part of the flow too, is just getting all that hype excitement out so that she's calm and then it can build up more during the day, right?
Yes. Creating coherence within the mind, the body, the mind, the heart, the parasympathetic with the sympathetic nervous system, is flow. There's two types of flow. Remember you might remember at the very beginning, there were these two wolves in a yin-yang symbol. A dynamic wolf and a passive wolf. So I refer to it as dynamic flow and passive flow. If we're training in the field, it's dynamic flow. We get into a flow, but we're moving. It's the same thing. And then the passive flow goes actually just a little deeper, because you can get to a point where they're drooling and they're in complete mind, body, heart, nervous system coherence.
Yeah, I haven't
That's
gotten her to that point yet, but
where you are is the excellent place to be.
okay.
So the passive, wherever you are, is the place of growth. The dynamic is the place of growth. Whatever the flow is, same conditions. Remember the 6 conditions that we just spoke about? Those same 6 conditions are occurring. It's just that the passive flow is a little more global, a little more in depth, a little more growth occurring, a little more healing occurring.
That makes sense. Thank you.
That's an excellent observation.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure if this is directly related to what you're saying, so if you want to put it off till you're done with it. When Shane was staying at my friend's house for the 4 days, he was allowed to go wherever he wanted at night. You know, they turn the lights off, they go to bed, and he could be anywhere downstairs. And so when I brought him home, I was like, well, I wonder if maybe I should be doing that with him. You know, so I have my office with a door, and that's where his crate is. And I had been keeping him in my office, but with the crate door open. But since I've been back 3 nights, and I'm like, well, maybe I should just leave the office door open, because I don't think he's going to get into any trouble, and have the whole downstairs. He still stays in my office pretty much. Like when I come down, he's still in my office, but is that too much freedom for him? Should I like keep him in the office at
Let's
night?
get the mastermind going. You've been working with the bubble, time, distance,
Mhm.
distraction. There is no distraction because everybody's sleeping. So now we're working with time, the time that he's out and about by himself. First question is, can I trust him to be non-destructive? Has he proven himself to be non-destructive? And number 2, the distance from which he gets to goes from his safety zone is what we're working for. We want him to go further and further away by choice from his safety zone. Is that the perfect time to do it?
Seems like it. So he has a choice. He can decide
Yeah.
what he wants to do. Yeah.
It's choice. He's self-directed,
Mhm.
and there's no distraction. And it sounds like you can trust him not to chew the furniture.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And you have to head it off at the pass, meaning you got to get up before Carrie does and secure him before Carrie comes down and steers him.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm always up before Carrie. And then when the other dogs are here starting today, is that any reason why not to continue doing that, leaving the door open, or?
When the pack is together, you don't know these other dogs. Are these other dogs going to chew up my furniture? Do you know
No,
them?
they won't chew the furniture. I have to put something on my furniture so they don't go on the furniture, but they won't
Oh,
chew.
okay. So are they left out and about at home?
Oh, yeah, yeah, they're very well behaved.
Try it out.
Okay.
Yeah, try it. In fact, this is the perfect time to do it. Get him used to exploring out in the house in the middle of the night, so long as you know that all dogs are not going to chew your stuff up, because
Yeah.
we can't punish them if they do, right?
Mhm.
So that would be the perfect growth spurt for
Okay.
Shane.
Okay.
Perfect. The fact that these dogs are coming to your house, oh my gosh, what a gift.
I know it is. Yeah.
Don't tell your friend though. You want her to think, oh, I'm doing all this work for you.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. You're familiar with this frequency scale, just put it into a different way, into a hierarchy. You've got this frequency scale over here of 800, which is what we're working for. Relaxed happiness, peaceful state of being. That's where we're going with the Linda. How can we get to the state? You just said it.
What? I
Relaxed
don't know.
happiness, peaceful state of being, frequency scale of around 800.
For Breezy?
Mhm.
I mean, she's there when we're playing fetch. I don't know if that's what you mean.
So that would be the passive motivation is where
Okay.
you get into the highest
Oh, okay.
scale. So with the playing and the dynamic motivation, it would be more toward here, internal motivation, higher states of flow.
Really? Huh.
Dynamic is 600-ish. I'm just giving you visuals to connect on.
Yeah, I know.
Reality.
It's just odd. You just think they're happier when they're playing than when they're at rest. But
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about relaxed, peaceful state of being, the highest place, energetic space and physical space for healing to occur, for growth to occur is up here. Relaxed state of peaceful happiness. In play, we've got stress occurring, eustress occurring in play, right?
really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Eustress is occurring because there's the cat and mouse sort of thing happening. There's the, oh, I'm sorry, did I bite you too hard? There's maybe an occasional startle, or there's always
I never thought of it like that. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because she like, I have to get the ball. So she has pressure on her and stress. I always thought of it as fun, but you're right. So she has some,
it is fun, but that's
yes,
where we're going
this
to talk about next, where the balancing challenge to skill comes in. We're always heightening the challenge to the skill level. We must always balance those two to create eustress and not stress. For instance, if we're if a cattle dog, these cattle dogs, they love their agility, love their agility. We put them on the agility course. It's just intrinsic drive maxed out. But if we create a change, a shift, a change, an unexpected change to this dog that's in their maximum happiness, we just tilted the scale, balance and challenge to skill in the wrong direction because now they have to stop. They've broken their flow. They have to figure things out. And this is pretty stressful. It's like I was just enjoying now. What do I do now? But through pattern, consistency, repetition, the ideal situation would be, yeah, you've broken out of your flow. Now let's get right back in. But it's eustress nonetheless. Up here, zero stress.
I never understood that, but I get it now. That's very interesting.
So is 800 when you're doing the deep breathing and you're just sitting with them and they're just completely relaxing, that's 800.
Relaxation response is kicking in.
Okay.
The coherence is coming into complete entrainment from you to them. Is
Like we would be after a massage.
yes, that's why I say the maximum healing occurs because your nervous system kicks in and says, okay, we don't have any life and death threat occurring, so I'm going to focus 100% of my attention on healing this body. And the brain kicks in by saying, they don't need me. I'm going to rest. The thinking brain is resting. So now the brain can heal itself. The emotional state, the emotional energy energy psychology can start stabilizing itself, creating self-organization with us doing nothing. That's why I say it's a perceived sense of control, because we're letting go and feeling better and better and better, physically, psychologically, literally. That's up here.
Totally makes sense now. Thank you. Never,
Yeah.
never understood that before.
Yay, I'm so happy to hear that.
I can tell you, I had to get used to with Shane when we're in the big pit, you know, there's hundreds of acres there, and we're in the pit, and he's charging around, having so much fun with his friend. But a lot of the time, what is it called? Hackles? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Are up, even though you can clearly see he's having a complete ball. And I'm like, why is he like scared while he's playing? My other dogs were never like that. But that's exactly what you're describing. He's having a ball, but he's still a little stressed.
You still look, it's kind of like a push-pull thing happening with him. It's on the verge of unhealthy stress, but it's peaked out eustress, which is, you could not ask for more than that in regard to a beneficial moment. Because you're pushing, he's pushing himself. That's autotelic. His internal drive is kicking in. Everything's happening automatically. You don't even have to do anything. That's perfect world to be in right there.
Mm-hmm.
And next you have the lower state of flow, which is external, the treats, the stuff that they're relying on you to give them is rewarding. It's a pretty high place considering this, but it's not anywhere near this, right? And then you've got, where the reactivity, when they start down here, which is why I'm saying, Julie and Linda, really, when we're in a place of healthy stress, i.e. you carrying Shane or walking, or Linda, you and Breezy are meeting a new dog. If they're starting down here, they have no emotional latitude to work with. They just go straight into biting or nose punching or reacting in whatever way they do. Whereas if they're up here, or even right here, really, this is a lot of latitude to be emotional latitude to be working with, to be able to continue the growth process of training and peak performance, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So to get from here to the next frequency scale, what are two primary tools that we can use?
Well, I mean, the motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either
Motivation.
for Breezy, it's, good girl and FaceTime with me and connection.
Yeah. So it's kind of in the play mode,
Yeah.
right? Because 200 up is the play mode. They're trusting. They're beginning to become courageous. They're building up the courage. And the bioenergy work is accumulative. My yoga instructor would always say, you got to take yoga off the mat, meaning we don't just allow ourselves a peaceful, calm state in here in the studio in yoga. We have to take it out in the world. The same thing here. The more often you do that relaxation response, the passive flow, the more normalized it becomes and the higher mood state they grow into, the higher frequency or luminance they create as a norm. You're
And what
right.
action is that? The easy, the triggers easy, or
I didn't hear your question.
well, you're saying that you need to do the exercise to get them up to the,
Oh, the practice,
yeah.
the consistency of passive flow, i.e. relaxation response and meditation time.
Okay.
That is building up their mood state, their base mood state. So when I first met Breezy, she was like at a 15. So the day one, day two, when I worked on the passive flow, the meditation time, I began to raise her frequency scale way up here. That's why she was able to learn to trust me so quickly, because she learned to feel so good almost instantly. So that's not to say that next week her frequency scale was up here, because it waxes and wanes like all of us. But it was raised from here next time I saw her. Then it was maybe 35, began at 35, then I could take her up here quicker. Then next time it was 200, then I could take her up here quicker. And she can, the more often you do that, the longer they stay in it, and the more it becomes a raised mood state. Does that make sense?
Totally. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, thank you for the question.
It's clicking. Thank you.
Yay, we love the clicks. So my point was, if you look down here, all of the tools are the same. Basically, play. And play for you, Linda, means a different thing than play for you, Julie, or i.e. Breezy and Shane. Play different things, right? So play and bioenergy balancing, the meditation time that you spend with your dog. This is number one tool. This is enough to start raising your dog's mood state. Of course, we have to be consistent through the life patterns. We can't do bioenergy balancing. In fact, people that I find that don't follow any of my suggestions in the training at home, bring their dog here to just get balanced, I won't continue working with them, because I'm just taking their money. It's not helping their dog. It's unfair to their dog. They come here and feel really, really good, but they won't follow any of the suggestions at home to help the dog stay feeling good. So now the dog is just on a seesaw, and that's not fair. Up, down, up, down. We want the flow, right? So that's where consistency comes in with your meditation time with your dog. And the state, the frequency, is referred to a few different things. It's energetic luminance, frequency, mood state, all the same thing. I'll just say them interchangeably. And you've got this, so I'm gonna fly by this because we only have a few more moments. Internal motivation. Here are the 5 intrinsic motivators. For each person, each dog, it's going to look different, but the concept is the same. 5 intrinsic motivators. Curiosity, mastery, which is drive, autotelic capabilities, which is self-rewarding, purpose, eye on the prize, and autonomy, perceived self-control. And then you've got the external stimuli, which we talked about. We've got more. Role of curiosity is crucial. There are 3 conditions for flow to occur. Setting clear objectives. That's why I've always harped you about the training journals. We don't have objectives. We can't reach maximum flow. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. We have to have ideal motivations. We must include our journaling, the goals, and so forth. Step 2, immediate feedback is crucial. Learning and the balancing challenge to the skills level, balancing challenges to skills level, like we were just talking about. So there's phases. In phase 1 of our training of dog training, the master dog training, it was a lot of a struggle because it's a lot of learning, getting the plan down, understanding what's going on, finding all the triggers, writing them down. It was a mechanical stuff. And it was more stress than eustress than relaxation. But then, as we began phase 2 of this training, we started releasing, let go to what you know, starting to trust yourself that you know what to do. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to be regimental about it. You don't have to keep your thinking brain clicked in 100% of the time during your walks and training. Let go to what you know, because now you're able to really reaping the rewards of flow, connection with your dog, peak performance with your dogs. And then the recovery. Recovery is, say, for instance, I'm going to put it into, this is an action plan. I created a journal. This is what I'm going to do for my training session. Then I let go of all the details. I have an idea of what I'm going to do. I have the details, the wisdom. I'm going to let go to what I know and allow flow to occur. Maximal growth, maximum potential has been achieved. Eustress, play. Now is recovery. I bring the dogs in, go straight to our meditation mat, and allow quantum energy to organize itself. The brain neural pathways are reorganizing themselves. The nervous system, parasympathetic, sympathetic, is reorganizing itself in our meditation time. Our heart to a brain coherence, they're reorganizing themselves because we're at the place of complete release. And now our mind and body are literally reconstructing themselves. The new patterns are becoming habits. Does that all make sense?
So when we come in and go straight to the mat and do the meditation, so I don't do very much yet, thinking consciously, okay, we're going to go outside or inside, and I'm going to do 10 minutes of formal training. I will get to that point, but I haven't yet. And I think it will be soon, but most of my training now is just done out when we're playing, and we work on stuff while we're playing. So then when we come in, does he still need to go right to the mat? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Pack training, play training. You must develop a strategy. Why are you out there training? To work on his releasing his anxiety and building his courage.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't walk out there with those initial intention, you won't be able to tap into your creative mind while you're in flow to make sure that's exactly what you receive. Mm-hmm. If you have the intention, your reticular activator, the part in the brain that looks for what is needed to make that goal occur. It's a survival thing in the primitive brain. If you don't have that goal, you won't be reaching maximum performance.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the goal. When you're in your flow, something happens. Your creative brain kicks in and says, "Oh, I can make a training moment of this." Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We must have an intention to every single thing we do with this dog. Everything we do. I'm sitting by my coffee pot. It's brewing. I'm impatient. So I figure, okay, I'm going to take 10, 15 seconds to do training. What am I going to train? Why am I going to do it? Why am I going to do it? I'm going to do puppy push-ups. I still do puppy push-ups with my dog. Sit down, sit down. Good. Yes. Sit down. Puppy push-ups. Why do I do that? So they always know through the neuromuscular repetition just happens instantly. They always know this is what it means. This is what it means.
Mm-hmm.
I had a reason why. You must have a why in order to gain maximum performance.
Mm-hmm.
You must have a
So
reason.
I do meditation with Breezy like in the morning after we wake up, or just during the day. I mean, should I wait till she's been active to do it? Is that better?
Do what works for you. Morning is, I used to always do that with my dog when I just had Maui, when I just had one dog. In the morning before we got out of bed, I did his trigger release. I did his massage and his energy balancing, and that set him for the entire day. That was fabulous. And he would just wait for it. When that alarm clock went off, he'd be like, okay, here I am, sort of thing. So yeah, that's maximum connection.
Okay.
That's
But I don't
maximum.
do massage or anything. I don't know how to do that.
Whatever you
I'm just
do.
doing the meditation.
Yeah,
So,
whatever you do. Now, the
okay.
reason I say, if you could add a couple of minutes, even if you don't do the relaxation time after training, it's going to be ideal to just put her in her crate to
Okay.
allow herself to self-regulate.
Okay.
And that's ideal. You're in a place where you can do that. You've done the relaxation response in the morning. That's going to carry over through the whole day. Now you've reached the optimum goal, and now she can self-regulate. She can go in the crate after training and process everything on her own, learn, and her body will reorganize, her mind body will reorganize itself, fall asleep. You're in the perfect position. You're in the perfect place of, this is where we're striving toward. This is where your first step is for the maximum potential.
Thank you.
So this seems like I'm thinking of myself, I never do the meditation first thing in the morning because I sort of feel like he's been sleeping all night and he's ready for a walk. And he probably would let me do that, but it just seems like opposite of his energy level at that time. But you're saying that that's a good time to do it.
So let's look at it a little differently. Let's look at it at brainwave states. We've got beta, the active, alpha, starting to learn, active learning, theta, which is transitory. This is the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And then delta, which is knocked out. We're not working in delta. We're working in theta. So when your dog first wakes up, they're in theta.
Mm-hmm.
When we're in theta, we have a direct line to the unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a direct line to, this is where super learning occurs. This is where super growth occurs in theta. So if you're there and we're kind of awake, it's almost, not quite, lucid dreaming would be right here. It's almost like lucid dreaming. So you're controlling, strangely enough, by letting go of control, you're controlling how the brain waves are programming themselves. You're reprogramming his brain right here. He's awake, kind of, and now you're continuing the relaxation response, and he's bringing it to his unconscious. And now you've got a comparator. A brain has a comparator. The unconscious is stressed out and he's had a rough life. But the conscious is, wow, I feel so good. I feel safe. I'm happy. I feel love. So the comparator, the brain will not allow these two states to exist simultaneously. It's just impossible, literally scientifically impossible to happen. So the comparator has to eliminate the belief that the world is a really scary place. It just has to eliminate it.
Mm-hmm.
So the more the brain comparator eliminates this belief, more often, this belief that the world is a scary, frightening place, and connects on to the concept that, oh, I feel so good. I'm safe. I love my mommy. Then this becomes the unconscious. Now, this is kind of where Linda is at. Now, the two are becoming the same. Now, that's not to say the fearful thing doesn't exist. It can't be erased, but it's grown over so heavily in the forest that now we've got a highway to safety and love.
So what you're saying, bottom line, is doing it in the morning when he's in that state is a good time.
Absolutely.
So that's really good to know. And then also, what about at the end of the day when he's, cuddling up in his crate? And is that just as good or is
Yes.
it better? It is.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Or both.
Both is ideal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes. All righty, ladies, we've run out
This
of.
was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, really, really
Yeah,
helpful.
I love it with us on chickens, just having traveled a long way. We got a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
covered, a whole lot covered. Thank you,
yeah.
ladies, for the excellent questions.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lori. You're a huge help. I can't wait to try out this stuff, but I'll give you the update next week.
I look forward to it. I do.